Everybody, and welcome. This is Bob Ost, and this is our Friday community gathering. And we've been doing this since April 17th, and we're going to keep doing this. I think we're going to keep doing it even after we come out of this shutdown, because this seems to be a very useful and healthy thing to do for the community. Instead of everybody having to fly in from all over the country to be with each other, we can all gather in Zoom. Isn't that, it's kind of great, actually. For somebody who actually was incredibly resistant to Zoom, I must say that I've embraced it fully at this point. So here we are. I'm able to not only have 60, well, almost 70 actually at this point, of our true community members in the room. I'm actually able to do this on YouTube and share what we do with other people out there who don't necessarily know us. So hello, YouTube viewers. Today, we're having the third in a series of interviews that I call Thinking in Zoom. Because we did a benefit on February 21st that for the first time in the history of True, I had to do a virtual benefit. I had to learn how to think in Zoom. So you may have missed a couple weeks ago, we talked to the directors and the tech people, and we've talked to the producers. Today, we're actually going to talk to the writers, the 6 writers who were the backbone, the substance, the meat of the benefit that we just did on the 21st of February. So I'm going to bring everybody into the room now. You may not see that because you're not on YouTube, everyone, but on YouTube, they're going to actually see everybody now in the room. Murray, would you like to introduce yourself as well and say hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Davis, a producer, both London and New York. Company is waiting in the wings to come back again on Broadway, also an out-of-the-box marketer, and on the True board and Abington board.
So let's go around. Let's meet all the writers, and then we'll start asking the tough questions.
Okay.
But we're going to start just by saying hello to all of you. My best friends, you made True look great on February 21st. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. So happy that you trusted us with your plays, and so happy that nobody killed each other in the preparation and the rehearsal period. You all seem to get along so well. So good on you, very good. Melvina, say hi and tell us a little bit about you and your play.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Melvina Douse Manuel, and I am the writer of A Woman's Perspective. I'm a writer by nature. I'm new to the True community. I'm also new to playwriting, so to speak, in this capacity. Actually, A Woman's Perspective was the first time that I've had someone other than myself produce a piece that I've done. I've tried producing in the past, didn't do a great job at it. But I never stopped writing. So I'm excited to be back in that medium. And eventually, I guess I'll grow into producing, but I'm not quite there yet.
Well, I think what you need to do is sign up for our producer development and mentorship program, because one of the things that we do at True, one of the things that we are very much proponents of is the self-producing artist. I am one. Basically, it's writers and directors and actors who, instead of waiting around for their opportunities, make their own opportunities. And it is possible to do it and do it well. I think most of our writers have self-produced at one point or other. We like the term self-producing artist because it says it's the anagram for is spa. And as all of you will attest to, producing yourself is extremely relaxing. So that said, let's go to our second writer. Let's go to Richard Castle.
Hey everybody, I'm Richard Castle. I wrote the book and lyrics to Virtual Happy Hour, the musical, and with composer Matthew Levine. And it was a thrill to have it a part of TRUSpeak and to see everyone else's work. I'm a fan of all of my fellow writers here now because I thought it was just a fantastic evening of work. And so I've written musicals, I've written plays, and I'm a songwriter and a pianist. So I've got my hand in a lot of different things, but I hadn't written a short musical like this, a little 15-minute musical in a long, long time. I'd only written full-length musicals. It was challenging, but it was really fun, and it was so rewarding to see it up, especially under the circumstances that we're all in. So it was, I didn't think, I had a full-length musical that was scheduled to go up last June and run all summer, and that was canceled. And so I was really depressed after that and said, I'm going to write something new. And then to have that something like this come out of it was really, really fun and encouraging.
Surprise.
Yeah. Make lemonade.
That's right. And you know that Matthew was welcome to join us. I just never heard back from him.
That's Matthew.
Okay. I thought it was me. I didn't know what happened. Next up, let's say hello to Joe Nelms, who not only had a play in TRUSpeak, but is genuinely one of the producers of the evening. Did so much work on it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was super fun. That wasn't a lot of work, though. You're right, but it was good. Hi, everybody. I am a writer. I've been writing movies and TV and novels for many years, and then recently got into playwriting, which I am absolutely in love with, and wrote Zoom for the True Benefit, and have actually just have another play that just got published by the Westchester Review that I'm pretty excited about, and have a couple of plays I'm sure you've heard me yammering on about before, and happy to be here.
And some of them actually are submitted to the True Voices series, as I recall, having glanced at the spreadsheet.
No.
Okay, Melissa Bell, hello.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Melissa Bell. I'm the writer of Game Boy, and I'm happy to be here tonight. I'm also a writer of Lady Capulet, which was sort of a finalist for the True Reading series a few years ago, but it's going to be streaming starting on the 25th of March at part of the Wham on Goddard Riverside has a Women's History Month celebration. So I hope you'll join. I'll put the information in the chat.
Thank you. And we'll move next to Michele Miller.
Hello, I'm the writer of Change of Plans, and just here to say what a great experience that was. And it continues to be, because I think we're going to have hopefully some continued life for that play, and even for what we created there that night. Can
you say anything about that?
Now, sure. Well, first of all, my team, which was a fantastic team, we had Kate Camerata, who was the director, Andrea Lynn Green, who was our technologist, Jonathan Hogue, who was producing, and finally, Crystal Kellogg, who was the fabulous actress who starred in that. And we were so excited how that turned out. And there was a lot of reaction from, there was reaction from people who wanted to use it. The play itself is about a woman trapped in her apartment during COVID, as many of us were, but also dealing with a domestic situation, domestic violence situation. And I think that play touched a nerve. And I received a lot of feedback, both from people who were in that situation, had been in that situation, and from people who have groups where they're helping women in that situation. And I'm hoping to be able to use that for those groups, for their constituents, for fundraising purposes. So,
and you'll keep me posted so I can keep everybody else posted. So yeah, I'm very pleased that some nice things came out of this for you and for everybody actually. I have to stop videos for people. Next up is T-Cat Ford.
Well, hello, everybody. I wrote the play Out of Order for the festival benefit. And I really only had 2 short plays before I wrote Out of Order, because I wasn't interested in the form. But once the pandemic hit, I became very interested in the form. And this was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And way to explore that and see how much we can do within 10 minutes on a screen. So that was very exciting.
Well, I'm going to actually ask Murray to, she has a couple questions that she wanted to ask everybody. And I think the way we'll do this, she's going to put out the question, and I'm going to ask you guys, the writers, to raise your hand if you want, if you have an answer
Okay.
immediately. And then Murray will make the decision about who she's going to call on.
I know. Well, oh, this could be Jeopardy. We need the bell. We need a bell. Well, first of all, I just right. By the way, I feel like this is Regis and Kathy Lee. Is that what's going on here?
If I could arrange the screen better so that you and I could be together. Right now I'm seeing you down there, me up here. It's like,
I'll have to figure this out. First, I have to tell you that I am still talking about all the shows. It was, I mean, every time I meet someone new, I talk about that evening and I talk about each of your shows, plays, musicals. It was phenomenal. It raised the bar so, and I've even heard myself say that I thought what I saw at the end of last year had raised the bar. Heads and shoulders above, heads and shoulders. So with that said, a couple of questions. Let's see, which should be the first one? Oh, make it easy. The shows were great, got it. Now that you've seen your shows performed, would you have written it differently, knowing that it would be done on the Zoom platform? Oh, we have a little, like a bell. Da, 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 da.
Well,
start with Melissa. Yeah.
Okay, Melissa, go ahead.
Of course, it's the bell.
The bell.
We got the
Oh,
bell.
that is, you got the bell. Go for it.
No, I don't think I would have. Because they actually captured the vision quite well, that it was just in a home and in a situation. And I was really expecting it to be, I was thinking, should I change this a little bit so it'll be on Zoom? But I thought, it could work because it's virtual and, it's about a virtual game and things like that. But the director, Brianda and Carly, the technologist, Carly Santuri, who's on here, they just had such a wonderful vision, and the way they pieced it together, it just completely brought out all of the nuances. And of course we had a fabulous lead actress, Katie Huffman, and wonderful young actors. I mean, I don't think I would have changed it. I was thinking to try to change it for Zoom, but luckily my instincts, I was just kind of like, it is what it is. I'm going to let them fool with it.
Got it. Okay, who's next? Who's ready to roll? I don't see everybody though. Wait, Bob, you and I are taking up spaces. I don't see everybody here.
Are you on Cala Review?
I will be right now.
Okay.
Let me see. Where are all the other speakers?
I think Melvina had a hand half-heartedly raised.
No, on the speaker, this is strange. On the speaker view, I'm not seeing the speakers. That's the problem.
I'm having the same problem. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, okay.
I think, to be honest with you, I think it has something to do with the fact that I just switched over from pro to business literally in the past 24 hours.
It took them away. That's why I can't see who's raising their hand. So
I have to relearn Zoom, everybody.
That's
Oh,
okay.
boy.
Don't worry about it. You know what to do? Hold it. I'm going to call it out. I'll just call in. I'm calling the name based on my. Okay, Richard. Richard, can you answer that?
Yes, I can. I wrote the show specifically to be done on Zoom and to be performed on Zoom. But I will say that after I saw what could be done with the form, as far as, I don't know how many people have seen this show, Virtual Happy Hour, but the last number, Real With You, really broke the form of Zoom. And Jessica, the director, and all the technologists did such a great job with the animation and all of that stuff, that it opened up opportunities in my mind and my imagination for anything else that I would write for this form, that I don't need to necessarily stick to the boxes, So I didn't put that in the script, that was something that came out of the process. So it was all to be done on Zoom. However, it was to be interpreted, and I was really impressed with particularly with that final number, because of how it broke the form and used the form so well.
I want you to know what you did. What your team did. Yours was the first of the 6 that I actually got to see. And once I saw that, the bar was pretty high. So basically, we were pushing everybody to be as creative and as imaginative, and everybody came through. It's just amazing.
What? By the way, Richard, I already put in an order for a bot. I only wanted a taller one though. And since I believe in backups, I ordered 3. I don't want to say anything.
Isn't that like bigamy?
Well, I don't know how the bots work it in the bot world. I have no idea. Okay.
Mary, they're coming. They were just lost in the mail somewhere.
Oh, exactly. Okay. Okay, TCAT.
Well, I wrote it for the platform because when we went into the pandemic, I realized, oh my goodness, I need to be able to write things that can be filmed individually with actors and work. And so I immediately segued into that. And I do have one little thing I would like to add at the end, because it's something you can do in this platform that you cannot do anywhere else. And I'm just sorry we didn't do it, but I'm not going to say what it is.
Oh. Oh.
Okay, I'll say. I wanted us in the end to see, for those of you that didn't see this isn't going to make any sense. We just see who she's talking to on the laptop. And that person would then, it would kind of make the whole thing a little more of an exclamation point.
Okay, next time.
Yeah.
You got it.
Was it another actor's salary?
It would have been another actor's salary, but
Okay.
they never said anything.
Blame
They
it
just had
on
to
me.
look.
Blame it on me.
They just had to look.
Okay, Melvina?
Oh,
Hi. I wouldn't change the overall concept, but I think I would be a little less cautious. Definitely being paired with Van Dirk helped a lot, because when we spoke the first time, I talked about where I wanted it to go. He told me his vision, and it was just in sync. And it was his creativity to actually take voices that I had initially had off stage and bring them on camera in the form of ghosts. My way of thinking was to probably have like pictures or memorials, and out of that came the idea, well, we need to make it more impactful, so why not have them appear as themselves on camera? And that was really, really powerful, I think. And it was exactly the kind of thing I was thinking, but not really sure how to get that point across in Zoom, because I've never worked in Zoom before.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
that worked out really well.
Welcome to the world, the new world. Joe?
First, let me ask TCAT, who was she talking to?
Okay. Well, for those of you that don't know the show, it's about a woman that basically doesn't get her white privilege. And so in the end, she says, and we're all the same. Isn't that wonderful? And I wanted us to see a very sophisticated African-American woman just looking back and going, that's all.
Okay.
It was just a thought. It was
but
something.
instead of the actress doing it, everybody that was watching it was doing it. We were all looking at it.
True. And it's something I wanted to try, because I get these ideas that I want to try and it might not work, but another actor. I didn't bother you.
I think that Michele hasn't really chimed in on this
No.
specifically yet. Because
No,
there's something I want to
Talk
say.
as little as possible. I actually also wrote my piece for Zoom. I think the hardest thing actually was that we had all decided as a team that it should be something raw and not have a green screen. And it was written to be specific to an apartment. So how to, we couldn't expect to have have our actors have that apartment, to how to incorporate that in the, now when we can't obviously have someone film, and she had to film herself, obviously. And then we incorporated film from a friend of mine who had an apartment that fit the bill. And that was done so seamlessly. It was, Kate had the idea that it was a flip of it would have been the flip of her phone or something, but it was done so seamlessly. I think it really worked. And
Well, here's the challenge for all of us. I'm a writer as well. You've all seen your work realized technically in ways that that were beyond what you had imagined. Shake your head no if you disagree. But I think it was basically beyond what you would imagine. Now the question is, as writers, do we go into this new medium thinking in a different way, or do we have to still play it safe? Because you're not always going to have the situation where you're going to have a technical person and a director who are going to do what we did. What are your thoughts? Richard.
I had, you know, a lot of interest in this show in particular. You know, there's this musical version and there's also a play version, a non-musical version of this show. And I've had interest in both versions. So I have a theater company that wants me to expand it. But by the time it's done, I write it, it'll probably be on a stage. So now I'm thinking in terms of how do you take the Zoom format and do that on a stage? So I think that's really exciting to think theatrically how you would recreate, not necessarily Zoom, but what would that look like on a stage? So kind of how theater has influenced Zoom and how will Zoom influence live theater?
It's interesting. That could almost segue into if you think about what you got that night, which was terrific. Is there anything that, well, no, yeah. Do you wish that anything would have been done differently than what it was?
We heard from the TCAT already on that.
Well, only TCAT, except for
Yeah.
well, yeah, except for TCAT, the others. Joe?
No, I actually, to go back to your earlier question also, this sort of answers both. I wouldn't have changed anything about the way it was done. What I did do is go back and change my script after I'd seen it, because what I had submitted was basically a monologue of somebody speaking. For those of you who hadn't seen it, it's from the perspective of Zoom, speaking to you with this message of hope, speaking to all of us who've been locked inside our apartments and houses for a year.
Yeah.
So, and Bob had the brilliant idea to say, no, this should be 6 actors, at least a bunch of people. So it's more representative. So we have genders and races and also.
I was thinking in terms of budget, so I said 4, but that's okay.
And I demanded 6.
Yeah. Remember his motivation all the time.
So, which I thought was a great idea. So it was so much better than what I had. So I went back and added that into my character description. So I look so much smarter now. Thank you, Bob.
Well, you probably could have 2 versions of the play. You should probably have a note saying at the beginning that it could be played by 1 actor, because that
I say, yeah, I think now it says like 1 to 20, whatever you want.
Yeah, okay.
Why not? And it's all because it's going to be on Zoom anyway, so it's going to be a lot cheaper than actually producing something that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But to address what Richard had said, would you ever think of a way of doing your play in live theater now?
No, I think that this will expire soon. It was created for a moment in time, I think, and that'll be that. We'll move on, and that will be done with Zoom. I don't think it'll be relevant anymore.
I would tend to agree with the play itself, but I think that Zoom's going to be around for a long time. Zoom.
Yeah, I mean the play.
The play, yes, for sure.
Oh, we all love Zoom so much as an app. It will definitely stay on there forever.
Well, okay, then I'm going to switch a question. I'm going to a different question.
Let's let other people answer the question that's on the table now.
Okay. What would you have done differently? Melvina?
I don't think I would have done anything differently, but there is a different version. Well, not really a different version, but there's another short play that I did that would probably speak better to live theater than Zoom, which is entitled We Can't Grieve, and it involves more actors, similar to what Joe was saying. But as far as a woman's perspective, I think it fit this medium better probably than it would live theater, so to speak.
Melvina, there's an interesting backstory that we haven't shared. You submitted to me originally a play, and then I had come back to you and I said, what if? And then you submitted a second version, and I think you submitted 3 or 4 different versions of this.
Right.
So describe that process and how hateful was I?
Well, what the process was, and I guess this is where it gets kind of technical for a writer, is that not understanding the budgetary constraints and all the backstory. The initial piece has about 6 actors, all with their own monologues, so to speak. So what you did is exactly, I mean, in the in the interim, what ended up happening was that out of trying to reconfigure that play, I realized, and you kind of coached me to realize, what I was doing was projecting my own personal experiences, hence a woman's perspective. So it was going through the process of writing these stories, came the process of processing pain, processing trauma, processing, reliving what was happening over and over again with the backdrop of Black Lives Matter. So I don't look or frown upon that process at all, because I felt like it helped me grow as a writer, and it encouraged me to be more vulnerable. So I'm very happy that I ended up with so many different versions, because I felt like this piece was set out to do something, and then the other pieces are set out to do something else. But ultimately, the whole topic of processing trauma within communities of color is not really discussed. So to be able to share awareness on that was a great outcome. So I thank you for encouraging me to, be even more creative and try to think of new ways to think it. So it wasn't a bother at all.
I want you to know I was incredibly impressed, because I liked what you first submitted, and then I said, but what about? And you were like completely open, and you came back and you did another version of it. And I said, yes, and what about again? And you came back with a third version, and it really was what I was getting out of reading the first one you were submitted. It seemed like there was a voice that wanted to come out, and I sensed that it must have been you wanting to express your personal view of what was going on. So I'm so glad we had this time together.
I am too.
All right. Michele, do you wish it had been done differently?
No, absolutely not. I could say that it probably came out better than I had even imagined. And that comes out of, I think the most important element for me was the teamwork. This was definitely a team effort. I think someone said in the chat about the technologists, how much they're a part of it. And even in the work that we did, which was quite raw. I mean, Crystal did most of that work in one or very few takes. At the same time, the technology is not seen, it's just as important. And I think that teamwork was very important, and I would not have changed the team at all.
I have to tell you, the thing I find amazing about the Zoom platform, because to go from page to stage in the real world, it could be 5 to 10 years. To go from page to stage in the Zoom life, I did a play that took 3 weeks, and I don't know exactly when all of you started the work, but what you guys accomplished as a team in each level is it's mind-boggling. It really is. It's just unbelievable. As being part of the whole company, it's a lot to be proud of. Okay, who did not? Joe, did you?
Yeah, he went.
I
think
okay.
I'd like to speak to what Mary just said about that. There's something to be said about this, like having this deadline, and we're all trying to do something creative together. It was so inspiring to work with the team that worked on this musical. I mean, to put up a musical, it had so many more barriers to getting it done, and to do it in the time frame and at the level that it was done is really amazing. And all of these people who are donating their time, to do it, and we're all like hands-on. It was really inspiring, and especially as a writer, to have all of these people lifting my work, and it was really wonderful. So
I have to jump in and talk about my leap of faith on this. As some of you I think know, I wasn't open to submissions for musicals at first. I just thought, that's just never going to happen. How are we going to do a musical? What the lag and the latency and the this and the that? It's like, oh my God, that's just too much. Then Jim Morgan said, I will introduce a work for your benefit, but it has to be a musical. So I opened up to musicals, and then somehow or other how did you find our call for submissions?
I'm trying to remember where I saw it. It was probably in one of the Facebook groups, the playwrights groups. I saw the call for it, but I believe it must have said play or musical, because by
the time you saw it, it did.
Okay, yes.
It didn't at first.
because I wouldn't have thought to submit a musical either. I even thought about submitting one of my plays. I thought, well, what the hell? Let's just see what happens. And you got back to me pretty quick about it, you know. And so I was really. You said it seems a little long. Would you be able to cut it down? And I said, sure, if you want to do it.
It's basically I'm very spiritual, and I believe in the universe, and I believe in things that are supposed to happen. And Jim Morgan said he wanted a musical. I put it out. The next thing I do is I see your piece submitted. It's just like, okay, universe, I surrender.
Well, then I'm grateful to you and to Jim Morgan.
Yeah.
The thing I want to say, because there are a lot of new people on tonight too, is the fact that this proves the point of what Tru can do. Just think of the lives that it has changed by all of, everybody coming together who never worked with each other before, whether it's the show or anything else, any other programs that are being done. Bob, Sandy, and I had a discussion about that in terms of how Tru can change lives and has changed lives. And Joe and I were talking about marketing, and he came up with a great line: "It's not true without you." And that's really true, as I say. Anyway, it was Melissa. Melissa, I believe you did not.
Oh, well, I think I already answered it in the first one, that I didn't,
Yeah.
I would not change
It's really
anything.
like
But
it,
the thing that really impressed me was just that how the structure, that the play structure still comes through in Zoom, that it is something different than film. And that, that it has a different feel, and it just has something different about it, and the structure and how it's presented. And so I think Zoom is really good for that. And so I think Zoom will be around, especially in early development of plays. It is really now, a real tool for us as writers to really be able to, hear our work more easily and get it to a smaller group or even a larger group of people more easily, and get feedback, which is extremely important for us as writers. We don't know whether the things are landing. We don't know whether it's working until we really have an audience. And sometimes that chat and the side really does help us as well.
That's great. Well, now that you have the opportunity of working on Zoom, what were the things you liked the most? And name one thing that you liked the most and something that you liked the least in terms of the experience. We'll start. I'm going to do it in order so it's easier. Melvina?
I don't think there's anything that I would say I didn't like about Zoom, especially since it's new. So I like learning new things. What did I like about it? All the possibilities, like, being able to reach so many people with one message, rehearsals without having to travel, even if it wasn't a pandemic.
No subways.
Subways, no subways.
No subways.
Just the functionality of being able to do things quicker, on the fly. Although I think one of the rehearsals, I think it came out on one of the panels previously, that we had ran about 6 hours, but when you're home and kind of observing the rehearsals a little bit easier as opposed to being in person for 6 hours someplace. And I know that's just my point of view. I'm sure even could attest that it was probably a little bit more painful for her, but at least she was still, in the comfort of her home as opposed to being out somewhere. So I don't think there's anything I would change about, the home Zoom process at all.
I just want to say one thing about what you said that clicked. Just think about putting the show aside for a second. Just think about when she mentioned about not having to go to meetings on Zoom, right? Do you know that there's still a memory? I have a memory back of when we actually used to have to leave to go to meetings, because there are times when someone says, Mary, let's do a Zoom call on such and such. No, not a Zoom call. Let's get together on such and such. And I'll stop to say, I can't, because I'm never going to make it across town because I have before that. And I'm still thinking about traveling like we did one time in life, which we may do again. Okay.
I do want to answer for the writers with one thing that might as well be stated. The one thing that Zoom doesn't have is the live audience. The closest we can come is the chat. And honest to God, the chat during the TRUSpeak benefit was invaluable. Everybody was very engaged and very active. And I think that you all were able to see responses, on-the-spot responses to a lot of what was going on. And that helped. But there's something magical about live theater. I can't pretend it's not there. There's something magical about an audience. In some ways, the audience shapes the performance in a way that it doesn't necessarily happen on Zoom. We're kind of much more on our own.
Yeah.
There's a lot of leaps of faith we have to take that things are being communicated, that they're getting across. So I just wanted to clear that up because I think that probably is true for most of us. Melissa.
Yes.
You know, Bob, I think to make Zoom really happen, as producers, we need to have a list of best practices. And this is something that I have with my playwriting group, and the producer of Lady Capulet also has it. She has a list of how you should set up, how you should set your device up, how you need to be in a neutral background, how you have to have your face close and lighting on you. And if you don't do these things, you end up with people in their nose in their books, or like, you know, their faces somewhere else. And so as a producer, and since this is true and it's all about producing, I think a list of best practices, forming a list of best practices for your Zoom reading, and telling people don't have fans up in the, you know, up in the ceiling, and make sure, you know, like you really need to give them a certain amount of protocols. And I know Equity has certain things as well that you can and can't ask of them. But really, you need to produce it, you know, even if it is, people are just in their homes and stuff. They need to have a background that is not distracting, and lock their cats up, and, you know, don't have them jumping up on their computers.
The cats and the kids.
That's right. Okay,
Right.
Michele? Michele?
I would agree with that. And I do agree not having an audience it changes everything. Bob, I don't know if you remember, but I was one of the first ones to say we should do a chat. We need to have a live chat, because I don't think we had thought about it.
Oh, I had.
because I had done quite a few. I do a weekly reading series, and the chat is the only way you can really connect. I think it's better for the writers than it is for the actors who can't be looking on chat. They shouldn't be anyway. It is helpful for us to have some kind of feedback, but it's a different kind of feedback. We're not hearing the laughter that really happens. We're not getting that whole that emotion that comes through. I think to have the after event really helped also, because people could come and give us feedback. That's something that was really nice.
And also a big mountain to climb. So, it was a challenge that I was able to meet with the help of John Lant and Tamara Pica. I knew basically that we could have breakout rooms. I knew that would be an opportunity. By the way, I don't know if you know this. I think you do know this. Originally, my plan was to have a mini talk back at the end of each of the plays. I'm completely out of my mind. You figured that out by now, right? So as I began to realize how complicated it was going to be, the after party with the opportunity of going from room to room was really it was the talk back.
Yeah,
It was the equivalent of a talk back.
Yeah, because I was in with Michele the whole time, and the feedback was terrific, and people kept moving from room to room anyway, and so you achieved the same thing. Absolutely. Joe?
The talkback was also sort of the equivalent of delayed applause, which was nice, you know, because you're getting nothing while you watch it, but when you go into the chat rooms after.
Doesn't count.
Right, but we're not seeing that, you know, on.
I know.
But when you went into the after party, then you got tons of feedback, which was really nice. So that was good. And what I loved about it, there's the downside. There's the inherent downside of not having live feedback, which that's just unavoidable. You can't do anything about it. But you also, with Zoom, you have access to so much talent, you know, wherever they are, and they can be in Seattle or England and be in your play. It's amazing, and you have access to it's a much larger audience, you know, that would maybe not make it to your reading or your play or performance, whatever. So easy to come on Zoom. So easy to just hop on and watch what you're doing.
Yeah, not too many people can get away with the excuse of, oh, it's so hard for me to travel to my living room.
Mhm.
And that's also the reason I've been speaking to a lot of different actors and people trying to get some work. And I just say that the opportunities are huge because they can be sitting in one place and be exposed to people all over the world. And you never know who's going to pick them up through, one of their plays wherever. I mean, it's terrific that way.
I think Murray has another question, but before that, I want to remind everybody that you can do a virtual hand raise if you have a comment or a question to anybody in the room. And you know that we encourage interactivity. We really want you to be part of these conversations.
Okay.
So if you don't know where your virtual hand raise is, at the bottom strip along the bottom where it starts with mute and stop video, security, participants, blah, 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 blah. Towards the right, you get out to breakout rooms, and next to breakout rooms is reactions. Reactions, if you open it up, you'll see a virtual hand raise. If you have an older version of Zoom, your hand raise will be in your participants window in the lower left-hand corner, or should be. So Murray, one more question, and then we're going to open it up to.
Okay, I just want to finish because TCAT didn't have a chance to respond.
Yes, I'll say what I loved about working in this medium is how the scenic design can really enforce the words. And my team just did a great job with that. Going from, Brenda's line about white people have their ways. And then we had this little sneaky Andrea with yellow behind her saying, so I played a trick. I mean, it was just all of that really enforced the script in a way that I don't know how we would have done that on stage. So I loved it.
Okay. Richard?
And
Oh,
so
go ahead. No.
Yeah, to piggyback on what everyone said, the benefit of it was the fact that I was able to work with people all over the country. My director, Jessica, was in Maine. I'm in Los Angeles. We had actors in New York. We had one actor in Florida. So like all of us coming together for this, that was something you would just never see unless we'd all flown into the same place. That was fantastic. The only drawback for me, I mean, aside from what people said about having the live audience and having that reaction, was, as a writer, we spend a lot of time alone in our homes, right? Writing, and it's very solitary. So I look forward to the rehearsal process where I can be in a room with real people and get to know people, not just when they're when they're rehearsing, but when on a break and you can sit and get to know people. So there wasn't that opportunity to really get to know the people I was working with, more so with the director and I, because we had several conversations before we started rehearsal. So I feel like I got to know Jessica very well, but not everyone else in the on the team. And so I sort of missed that. Like I worked with them, but we just didn't have that personal connection, which is what virtual happy hour is all about.
That's right. Okay, Mel?
Well, I think I answered already, but just to reiterate again, there was nothing I would really change. Again, it's much easier to do.
What you most enjoyed? What you most enjoyed or least enjoyed?
The thing I most enjoyed, again, is not having to travel, being able to do anything. I'm, a stay-at-home type of person anyway, so
Gotcha.
I hate taking the subways or whatever the case is. What I least enjoy, just to echo what everybody else said, not having the live feedback, but definitely when we did the talk back from a woman's perspective, that was the reaction. So
gotcha. Okay.
Came out later.
Okay, and the last, are you more or less inclined to have your work interpreted for Zoom now that you've been through this? I'll go to the top where Richard, you're sitting at the top. Richard?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you know what? I like the idea of writing for Zoom and not necessarily adapting the shows that I have to Zoom. I feel like this is something, it's such a very specific medium that it's very exciting to think about how we can use the form now. I talked about that earlier. And so I want to write new shows for this form rather than try to, squeeze what I've got onto Zoom. I think that's what I'm most looking forward to, because I do think it will continue on.
Which reinforces the title of this conversation, Thinking in Zoom.
That's right. Melissa?
Well, I like it, as I said, for developmental work. I like it very much. And I also, when we recorded Lady Capulet, I like the recording that you can, I like to record even though on Zoom, because you know, you can, if you're having little problems, they can be fixed, you know, that you can't always do live. So I do like pre-recording, and Bob talked about that, why we should do that. And so I do like that. But the other thing I like about Zoom that you don't always get on stage, you get the emphasis of the words and you get the actors close up, and you can really see their emotions and you can see their eyes as they're looking into.
We're losing your voice again.
Your voice.
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry. No? Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. I don't know what's wrong.
Okay.
Oh, well.
All right. Michelle? So, okay.
Yeah, I like writing to challenges. And I know when the whole idea of Zoom theater first came out, there were a lot of people jumped in with small works first.
Yeah.
And I remember watching through some festivals where it was like 61-minute plays, or, you know, a whole bunch of 3-minute ones. And it gave you an aspect, it gave me the idea of what worked and what didn't work.
Mhm.
And then I like the challenge of saying what would work. I think Richard's piece was amazing watching, because there were things that I would never have thought to do. And now knowing where the technology can go to say, okay, you know, I can incorporate things that I wouldn't have thought to incorporate. And I do think that for any play, it really could do. I agree with Melissa that the developmental stage, there's always going to be a place for it.
Mhm. As a producer, the readings to me are natural on Zoom, so much easier. Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with having my stuff adapted to Zoom. Sure, why not? It's I do think it's like a farm league, like it's good game footage if you get your play up on Zoom first and you can study that recording. That's really nice, and it's an easy way to get everybody to get there and try stuff out.
Mhm.
So sure, I'm in.
Okay.
And also as we learn more and more, you know, now we're getting better at this, and if we could figure out sound, we'd be in a really good place.
Hey, Bob, we have our testimonials, built-in testimonials.
Right, we're gonna need, yeah,
Speak Cat.
we'll talk about that.
Speak that.
I enjoy it, and now whenever I'm working on a new piece, I'm writing for both mediums, and I just
Smart.
think that that's the way to go now. And some things are more adaptable to the digital medium, and some things are more adaptable to stage. But I think that we have to think in these terms now,
I think you're right.
and I find it exciting.
Melissa put something into the chat that I just wanted to say. She likes seeing the actors up close. So I think I'll expand. I'll expand on what I think she means. Zoom is actually in some ways a much more intimate medium than live theater is, because you're face to face with your actors. You're seeing every nuance on their face, and every emotion has to be done very delicately, because it's so big on the screen. So much bigger than it would be on stage. So that any smart writer needs to evaluate the strengths of the medium that we're working in, and to write to those strengths. So I think that's something to keep for all writers to keep in mind: the intimacy of the face that you're looking right at, who's going through an experience, who's a character that is going through some sort of dramatic journey. It also means you have to be a little bit more delicate with it than you might be in stage. It's similar to film, similar to how it would be in film.
Jamie.
Okay, so we have hand raises. So I'm gonna start with Sue, who is the first hand raise, and then I'm gonna go to Daphne.
Oh,
Sue Horowitz.
oh, hi. Okay, let me turn my video on. Okay, I cannot turn my video on because
That's okay. We can hear you.
I'll talk.
Yeah.
I really agree that the Zoom, the gala presentations were really a cut above what is usually seen. And I got two feedbacks, and it's a little confusing to me, and I hope someone will clarify. When Zoom did a program with the agents, several of them seemed to say they didn't like Zoom presentations. So that's one feedback. And now the Zoom gala seems to be quite successful, and people are saying, yeah, they do like it. So I'd like a little clarification.
I can take that pretty easily. So the agents were talking from their experience. What we all got at the beginning of Zoom when we first went into this shutdown we basically were getting talking heads, and some people didn't know that it's probably better to have a gallery view of the talking heads so you can see everybody sort of talking to each other rather than big face on screen followed by another big face on screen, which is kind of a disruptive way of trying to watch a scene. So they saw things in early Zoom, and I was going to call them on that, but I knew what they were saying. There are just as many pieces that they've seen live that they didn't like.
Right.
They've gone to the theater 1,000 times. 800 of those times, they probably weren't very impressed by what they saw on stage. So it's any medium is going to be done well or not done well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking about badly done Zoom. We're talking about good Zoom.
Yeah.
Are you a good Zoom or a bad Zoom?
I second that totally.
Daphne, you're with us already. So tell us what's your question?
Yeah, so my question is, I am starting to put together a table read of a new play. And I'm wondering, do I need to offer to pay the actors? And also, is it a good idea to maybe get a director, even though it's just a table read? It's just for me to get a sense of, the play.
Is it a good idea? It's always a good idea to get a director.
Even for a table read?
Even for a table read.
Okay.
You do. Equity does not have any feelings one way or the other about table reads. As long as you don't have, as long as they're closed and they're not open for public viewing, and of course there's never going to be any kind of admission charged.
Right.
If it is truly a table read, it is something that is done purely for the writer's edification, so the writer can hear their work done. It's done with the understanding by the actors that this is a private reading. You don't have to pay. Normally in the real world, we feed everybody pizza.
Mhm.
So find yourself a Grubhub pizza place and send everybody a couple slices of pizza or something. So I
And the
would,
same with the director? I don't need to pay the director? I mean,
the director the director is going to be a big favor.
Mhm.
The director is somebody that falls in love with the piece or has nothing else to do right now, and it's like, yeah, sure, let's do your piece. That would be great. They just have to want to do it. No, you can't. Can you pay a director? Sure, you can pay a director for a table read. I don't start paying directors until we get to the staged reading step, which is the
Okay.
next step.
Thank you.
I just want to respond to that. Personally, I feel that if actors are giving their time, even if it's for a reading, I mean, they still have transportation and things. And if there's something you can do, I think.
Well, they don't have transportation on Zoom.
No, but whatever. I think this, I believe I personally believe actors should get paid.
Okay, you're a producer.
Yes.
I'm going to talk for the writers.
Okay.
The writers do not
Hey.
have unlimited budgets. The writers, we're poor people who are just trying to create art, and basically
And nobody's paying us.
nobody's paying us. So yes, I mean, sure, if you can afford it, absolutely pay people always if you can afford it. But be realistic about a spiritual saying that I used to have: never try to pour from an empty pitcher.
Well, okay. All right. I hear you. I hear you.
You're a producer. You have to take that position. That is the correct position for you.
Okay. You take the next question. Let's go.
Oh, okay. Courtney, unmute yourself.
Yes, I did.
Okay, we hear you. So did you have a question? Your hand was raised.
Oh, I think I was just scratching myself. Sorry. No,
That's the funniest thing I've heard all day.
No, I really, can I speak? I really wanted to watch this afternoon because this is exactly what's going on in the theater, more and more Zoom. And of course, I was astounded by the gala anyway. I think it was fabulous what you all did. But I'm enjoying this very much, and it's very positive. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks, Courtney. Courtney is an officer of TRU, by the way. He's on our board. I'm going to say this again because I still see writers in the chat saying, "Oh, we can pay people. We can."
Yeah.
It's a table read. We're not talking about a staged reading. We're talking about a table read. We're talking about friends getting together in a room and sitting down and reading somebody's play. It's perfectly fine to just give them pizza and a beverage.
But can I say something? Sometimes the best feedback I get are from those actors. So I kind of want to pay them something.
If you can afford it, fine.
I'm not saying I'm paying a lot.
Yeah. It's
Like $30?
What?
Like $30? What do you say not paying a lot? What does that mean to you, Kat?
Oh, I'm saying like, 10, 15. I'm
Okay.
saying not a lot.
All right.
Especially if you got a cast of 12.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, you shouldn't because it's not going to tour. Got to think down the road.
This is early development, everybody. This is somebody who's just gone through the passionate process of writing their heart out and getting something down on a page and wants to hear it read with friends. That's a table read.
Gotcha. Who else has hands raised? Anybody? You have
Oh yeah, Ed Levy.
Okay.
Ed?
Sorry, had a little trouble unmuting. My question is, do people have a different feeling watching a pre-recorded Zoom as opposed to a live Zoom? Do you lose anything in terms of spontaneity if you're doing pre-record? I like pre-recorded because you can obviously do more things, but I wonder if some people feel sort of cheated by pre-recorded in some way.
I don't know if anybody of the 200 people that were at the benefit, I don't know how many people felt cheated. I think, again, it goes back to doing things well versus not doing them well. If you do it well, I don't think everybody knew what was pre-recorded and what wasn't. People were so bewildered by Game Boy. How did you get two people in that room? They were this. I think there might be a trade-off. Yes, I guess there is something different about a live performance. But what you get in exchange, first of all, I don't know. Somebody take this. I don't know what to say. I can't deny the fact that it's a different experience. Is it a lesser experience? I don't know.
Bob, I'll feel this one because, the musical, there was no way to have done that live. People can't sing together on Zoom. The technology just isn't there yet. And then somebody earlier was talking about the fact that all of the actors, have different setups. They're, different microphones, different cameras and all of that. So there's just too many things that can go wrong. And you can argue that even in the theater, things go wrong and the show must go on. But on Zoom, if something goes wrong, somebody's not heard, somebody loses their internet if it's done live. So I feel like there isn't that sense of immediacy that you have in the theater where you're sitting in an audience and the actors are right there. So it almost doesn't really matter if it's going to be live or if it's pre-recorded on Zoom. And because all of the shows that I saw at TRUSpeak use the form in such different and exciting ways, none of that could have been done live either. So it allowed the opportunity for us to think more creatively and not just have talking heads. So I think it's a different medium and it doesn't matter. I would prefer that it's done well. And I think a lot of the Zoom plays kind of got a bad rap early on because of all of the technical glitches. And so it was a smart idea to pre-record all of the shows and then think about what that might look like.
Even Stephen Sondheim did not survive Zoom completely.
Oh.
Exactly.
Joe.
True.
I do like the live aspect just because there's a sense of risk or danger in there, which is fun. And I will say I was watching a reading one time and somebody kind of forgot they were supposed to speak or just kind of went up to their lines or whatever. And it was funny because the director tried to give them their line, but the line was, "Oh, for God's sakes." And so all you heard was the director go, "Oh, for God's sakes, top of page 6." And not realizing he was just trying to help.
We got a lot of hand raises. So Jessica, try to get through these all so that we can also put people in the breakout rooms to meet each other. Jessica, yeah.
There we go. Sorry. So pardon my appearance. I'm in the process of painting as we are speaking right now. But I think I put my hand up a while ago where there was a question about Zoom as a space. And I'm just going to give you my secret. I've been doing a lot of Zoom shows from middle school through professional. And there was a talk earlier about the standards for, you know, setting up your box and being in the space. And I encourage you, especially as writers, to think about the space. Think about the box as the proscenium, right? So my space is not me here. My space includes me all the way back here. My space includes me entirely off the screen at the moment, but you can still hear me, right? So that's one of the fascinating things to me about Zoom, is sort of the whole world that Zoom is peering into. So yeah, when the entire show is just Jessica's face in this box and it's just me emoting and aren't I so amazing? Don't you love me? Like that is, I think, what got really old very quickly in the Zoom world. You know, I saw some amazing performances, but this is what I saw. And theater is the interaction. It's the whole space. It's amazing performances in that space. And what does that create and how does that create? So think about the Zoom box, the whole Zoom box, everything back there being off the Zoom space. Think of that as your space to write in and to work in, and like the world opens up to you. And I think that's a big difference between what happened with all the performances at the TRUSpeaks versus some of the other stuff that's come across my desk.
Yeah, to go back to the, I basically sent the agents, all 3 of them, I sent them my private archived copy of the benefit, and I haven't heard back from them. So I don't know if we changed any minds or not. I got a lot of hand raises. So Eben, and everybody needs to be a little bit quicker now. Eben.
Hi, I was the technical whiz kid on TRUSpeak, and I have since then actually been involved in several live performances, including which the other night was actually an improv. And one of the things I have said to all my people that I work with on Zoom is that you have one mic. That's what the technology does. That's the only limitation you have, is you have one mic, and you have to think of it that way. So when you're writing it, that's what I would tell you as writers.
You can't have no overlapping dialogue.
But, and here comes the but, because it was a rehearsal and the director said, I need you to there's not enough action here, you know, you're slouching in your chair, he commanded them to improv, and it worked. It actually worked. So you can actually, yeah, we didn't hear every single line, but that wasn't really important in that case. It was what was more important is that you got the feel that these are 2 guys that are going at it and they're really combative. And you got enough, it was long enough that you got it, that this is, you know, so what I'm really saying here is that you have to stretch the limit. I'm supporting what Jessica says a bit. I mean, I think she's a goddess also, but basically, yes, you can do so much more. Don't be afraid. And let the technologist tell you. Actually, don't listen to me because I said you shouldn't do that, but he did.
We've got 3 more people waiting. Okay.
Let the technologist tell you, no, it can't be done. And then prove them wrong sometimes. Go prove us wrong.
David, Pat, and Mika, and then we have to call it a day.
I just want to weigh in on the live versus pre-recorded. I did my show both ways, and I found that the pre-recorded actually appeared more spontaneous because there was no lag between the follow-up comment. And the other thing is that if it's a long speech like mine is now, you can actually cut in a picture of the person listening. And so it actually gives you the feeling that a dialogue is taking place, not my monologue and then someone else's monologue. I'm over and out.
Good. Well, thank you. I'm not sure whether we actually used any intercuts in the benefit, but it's a great technique. Pat Lynn, and then Mika.
Yeah, I think we're talking about two different ideas of what you're using the Zoom experience for. One of them, if like the True Benefit, it was slick, it was professional, it is something that it was entertaining, so an agent would want to come, see it as this is where we've developed it so far, and then move it on to whatever next venue it might be. That I think really needs to be recorded, because you've got to eliminate as many of these glitches and unforced errors as possible. I think the other use of the Zoom platform is, as I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, it is Daphne, was saying, and that is if you just want to use it to hear your work read for the first time, then it doesn't make any difference, because so somebody drops the script, it becomes fun. But if you got an agent watching that, it's like, how unprofessional is this? How stupid. I got better things to do with my time. So they're two totally different agendas. And I think you ought to look to using the platform for whichever fits the agenda you want.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Mika.
Yes, I just had a reading of Banshee recently as a musical, and it was really hard to do because of all the singing. It's all about harmonies, and the singing had to be so minimal that it just was really hard to begin with. But I couldn't pre-record it because I had so many people that were in unions. And I was wondering if anybody had any like advice on how to go about pre-recording with people in unions, and if you've had any problems with that.
It depends on what agreement you were working with. There's no reason. I mean, the unions are perfectly fine about you pre-recording. There's no problem with that. They understand. Even Equity understands that you can't do a live duet on Zoom.
Well, maybe okay, I'm gonna have to look into that because they gave me a hard time, but maybe I just was talking to the wrong person. I don't know.
Well, if you're pre-recording it and then you're going to use the recording for something in the future, no. But
right.
If you're pre-recording it for one-time usage.
Yeah.
No, are you just saying they were giving you a hard time for recording the actors singing into into their phones?
Recording it
and putting it together so that you could have a presentation?
Yeah, they didn't want me to record anything.
Did you were speaking to Equity or you were speaking to the actors?
I was talking to Equity and SAG.
No, but the actors themselves. The actors themselves usually don't have a problem with it, but but recording is always tough. But with Equity. So if you're just, I don't know. I mean, I think you have to because everybody has to work. You have to pre-record the music to put it together. You know what I mean? To even have it. But it's the broadcasting of it that Equity has the problem with. Like, how are you broadcasting it? Okay. So that I think there's a difference.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that. Thank you.
Oh, let's end on an Equity note. Of course, of course we will.
Sorry.
So I want to thank everybody. Joe, Richard, Michele, Melissa, Mel, and TCAT. I'll always be grateful for your work, and thank you for being part of the TRUSpeak benefit. And I want to thank everybody for sharing today and for being with us. I do my weekly reminder that we have running costs, and so if you are not a member of TRU, we certainly would appreciate a donation of some sort. Oh, wait, I see Larry Daggett's hand just went up. Larry, what did you want to say while I'm finishing?
Hello, everyone. Let's end on a happy note. I understand. I've been a member of Equity and SAG for 1,000 years. Here's a new deal. There is a new contract, a brand new contract with SAG. And remember, SAG, you pre-record these things. It is so kind to producers. I read this like 3 times and I went, this can't be right. And it is right. It's called the Micro Budget Project Agreement. If you are working on something that is under $20,000, you negotiate with each actor and all you have to do is pay them whatever that state's minimum wage is per hour. That's it. There is no pension and health. There is no base rate. You can say, I'm going to pay you $15 and we'll do this in an hour. And if the actor says yes, all you have to do is have them sign one form and you keep the form. You don't even need to turn it into SAG. It is the easiest thing in the world. I just listened to a seminar that SAG had about this. This is because of all the actors that wanted to have their friends in shows and they couldn't do it because I've worked on films that I produced myself. And before this, trying to get the paperwork done was just a freaking nightmare. And now it is so easy. So I suggest you check into it. Again, it's called the Micro Budget Project Agreement for projects under $20,000. And it is so simple and so easy. And I have a feeling once the union figures it out, they're going to cut it out because it's so nice to producers. So grab onto it while you can.
And I'm still mulling over the idea that Meka was working in a recorded medium, which is known as Zoom, and told that she couldn't record in a recorded medium. Like,
That's
really?
great.
Somebody at Equity was confused. Thank you, Larry. I know we've talked about the
Wow.
what is it called again? The Micro Budget Project Agreement. We know about that. So it's another piece of information for everybody. Like I was starting to say, do donate if you can. Give us something to keep us going. We're actually pretty stable right now. That doesn't mean it's always going to be this way. So don't take us for granted. Keep supporting us. We really appreciate it, and we really need you. And come next week for a conversation with. I just have to make sure. Is it next week that I'm doing advocacy? Give me a second. I gotta find this out. I'm going crazy. Has anybody read the True website to know what the next meeting is next week? I just put together 5 of them, so I'm trying to remember which is.
A conversation with David Armstrong.
Oh, it's David Armstrong is next week. Got it.
I just read your email.
Thank you. Thank you. David Armstrong does a podcast. He's got something called Broadway Nation. He also was the artistic director of Fifth Avenue Fifth Avenue Theater in Seattle.
Seattle.
And he was also the director on Broadway of Scandalous. And he basically made a decision a couple years ago to leave Seattle in 2018 and go on his own as a director, and also started doing the podcasts as a way of responding to what we're in right now, the pandemic, the shutdown. So he's an interesting guy. He's got a lot to say. He's an interviewer in and of himself, so it's going to be interesting to see who interviews who.